Welcome everyone to Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I'll be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about the state of the world and how it is affecting the mind. Because if we just look at how the mind is right now in life, it's not necessarily a positive thing. A lot of negativity is going on. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of uncertainty. And all of that is going to weigh heavily on how we think. And many people are in fear, are in worry, are anxious, and it's difficult for them to get out of that way of thinking because it's just not the snap of a finger and then we are in a better position. So we're going to be breaking that down today and understanding what we need to do in order to get ahead of our current circumstances in the whole entire world. Because if we fail to do that, then we're going to be in a worse place down the road. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video. So if you have turned on any type of news media, any internet, Twitter, social media, you will see that there is a war going on with Russia and Ukraine. Now, we can point fingers and we can say it's someone's fault, whether it be America's fault, Russia's fault. We can do that all day long, right? We can say the war is unprovoked, but in reality, war, there's always some motive, whether it be greed or fear. And we're going to talk about war primarily on the next episode on Friday. But today, we're going to be talking about the state of the world and how it is on our mind. Because if you're supposed to be doing something in your life and you're not doing it because you have a fear, or you have an anxiety, or there's an uncertainty, we have to get out of that way of thinking very quickly. Now, I haven't gone to the gas station here in Texas for the past 2 weeks without waiting in line. People are doing their best to make sure they keep their tank full. Now, people might have been, 2 years ago, they'll wait until they're empty and they will go get gas. But now gas is just skyrocketing at an alarming rate. And just within a couple of weeks, the gas went up by about 50 cents. And 50 cents doesn't sound like a big deal. But what happens if you commute to work? What happens if you have an SUV or a truck and you're commuting to work? That's going to add on to the money that you're spending. And you might not have a spending problem or a money problem right now, but we have to understand something. Inflation is the hidden tax that's going to wipe out the middle class, and it has already wiped out the lower class. And if you think that just because the taxes didn't go up, that you're not going to be paying a penny more in taxes, but inflation is going to get you, we need to start to rethink our actions. And talking to a friend, and he said something great. He said, elections come with consequences. When you vote someone into a leadership position, they are going to be the leaders for the next 2 years, 4 years, depending on the type of position, right? They are going to be the people who are going to be driving the force of your local state government or playing a part in it. And we have to understand that if someone is trying to go down a path that is not good for the country, why should we allow them into the office or into a position of power? Is it because you didn't like the former person in power? Maybe you didn't, right? You might have labeled the person as a evil person. Maybe they're racist. Maybe they're just a no good SOB. Well, guess what? People are going to be labeled as long as someone doesn't like them. Someone can label me something because they don't like me. And that's fine. I'm not out to make everyone like me. I have a mission, I have a goal. And for many people, they vote with their feelings. I feel this is the way, right? And it's not even instinct, it's I feel. This person is evil. This person hasn't done anything good and it's made my life HELL. Now, if we look at the track record, we might be able to prove otherwise. But if we're just watching an opposing news network, for example, CNN, World News, all of those places, all those news networks are going to have a certain bias. For example, InfoWars has a certain bias. For example, Fox News has a certain bias, what they believe. Now, we're not discrediting anyone's beliefs. We're just saying that there's going to be different points of view. It's difficult because when we're talking about, you can have a viewpoint and it's fine, but why can't someone else have a different viewpoint? Because we have gone past that. If you have a different viewpoint, you are an enemy now. And then we live in a fantasy world where people think, oh, this is the solution, when really the solution was them not putting someone into power who was going to destroy or be weak and make life miserable. There's a reason why many people are not feeling confident right now, why many people are stressed and anxious. It's because our leadership is weak, especially here in America. We just got out of a pandemic and now we're going into a war. And people are not financially ready for that. They still haven't recovered from the pandemic. And now they're going into a war. Gas prices are going up. Inflations are at a record high. And there has been no help from the government. And we're not looking for the government to come save us and be Superman. We are just looking for some leaders to come in, step in and say, this is what we need right now. Not opinion, not belief. This is what we need. Here in America, we should be energy independent. Now, if you believe that, great. If you don't, that's great too, right? But why would you not want to be independent? Because if you're a woman, do you need a man in your life? Yes or no? You're going to say no. You're independent. So you're saying if you're independent, why shouldn't America be independent? If you're a man, should America be energy independent? If you say yes or no, right? So yes, cool, right? Energy independent. If you say no, do you need your boss? I thought you're independent. Why not go out and create your own company? Guess what? You're dependent. Now that dependency is going to create more harm in the future than is going to create good. Because what's happening right now is Russia, one of the biggest exporters of oil, just said, yeah, we're not going to export anything until December 31st of this year, 2022. Guess what Russia also delivers? Fertilizer. Russia produces 50 billion tons of fertilizer every year. So 13% of the world's total. And the country is a major exporter of potash, phosphate, and nitrogen containing fertilizer. And they all help with soil nutrition. That means the food that comes to your table, those vegetables, all my vegans, all my vegetarians, paleo, whatever you do. Guess what? You're not going to get this from Russia. And you might say, well, that's fine. There's still 87% of other countries in the world going to give it to us. Okay. Now, 13% might not seem like a lot, but it is because it all adds up. And now the war, right? We're not going to get too deep into it, but we're just talking about the mindset. Now, there's going to be a war with Ukraine, and Ukraine exports around 60% of the world's wheat. That's a lot of wheat. 60%. So we're going from 13% in fertilizer, saying it's not a big deal. But now Ukraine, the one that's being attacked, is going to now not be exporting that 60% of wheat to the world. Let's play devil's advocate for a second. Russia takes over Ukraine. That means Russia is still not going to be giving anyone exports until December 31st. He now, or Russia or Putin, whoever's in power, is going to have Ukraine in the 60% of the world's exporting wheat, let alone the fertilizer. So now food prices go up. Gas prices have already started to go up. It's not looking good. So we need to figure out, what can we do, right? Do we strap on some boots and we go fight with Ukraine and we say, all right, we're going to make sure we don't lose our 60% of wheat? This is a bigger problem than that because it's a continual problem. If it's not the pandemic, it's a war. If it's not a war, it's going to be mandates. If it's not mandates, it's going to be regulations of some manner. It's going to be citizen scrutiny, January 6th. And right now, as I'm speaking, there's a trucker convoy in DC. But if you go to most of the major news networks, you don't hear anything about it. But they made sure they didn't have another January 6th, so they erected a bunch of walls to keep themselves safe. So the government is quick to put up walls to keep themselves safe. But what about the people? Are you within those walls, or are you on the exterior of those walls? You voted these people in, right? The majority of people voted these people in. And we have to understand, it's going to create some type of stress. Because now we're looking at people, we're looking at the government, and we're looking for help. We're looking for aid. We're looking for assistance. We're looking for leaders. But where are they? Look what happened in Canada. Prime Minister Trudeau ran away. And then he does an executive order saying, if you're going to occupy, there's going to be consequences, basically. A few days later, though, he takes back the executive order because he realized that wasn't a good deal. It wasn't the right move. He was basically doing a power hold when he should have listened to the people and said, hey, how can I help you? What needs to be done to fix this? Now, in the sense of the whole Canada trucker convoy, in a sense, they won. Many of the mandates went away, but one of the things that they wanted was the Prime Minister to step down. Now, do you think they're going to vote him back in? It is unlikely, but it's still possible. And whether it be a corrupt election or the will of the people, it's going to be what it's going to be. People are going to be upset. People might be happy. But we do have to understand that there's going to be stress with the choices that come about. Now, when we go to the grocery store, there's no food on the shelves. And it starts small. You might not be able to get one of your favorite items for weeks. And you finally get it and you're like, whew, okay, crisis averted. The world's not ending. But eventually, one day, you're not going to get that item. And regardless of how long it takes, that item's not going to restock. And a little bit is going to be fair purchasing, where people go out and they purchase a bunch of things. We saw that in the pandemic. There's no more toilet paper. Everyone went out and bought toilet paper. And right now we have an issue with the gas prices. So people are going out to make sure they have gas, but they don't need to buy toilet paper. They should have enough from the last pandemic. And the same thing was with PPE, hand sanitizer, disinfectant spray. There was a bunch of big purchases for these items to help keep them safe. And now it's not so much about keeping everyone safe, because people are going to be protected, whether it be natural immunity or a shot. And people are going to not really worry about what's really happening with the whole pandemic stuff deal. What needs to start to go down is now we're past that a little bit, right? It's still going to be there. We still have to deal with it because guess what? The big people of Pfizer, Moderna, government, they still have stakes in those companies. So they're still going to push mandates. They're still going to push people making sure they're protected for things that don't work, but protected none the least, right? That it doesn't matter about the science anymore. It matters about what the will of the government is. So now we're worried. Our bank account is just going down, down, down. Because we're paying 50 cents more a gallon. We're paying 20 cents more for some juice. We're paying 35 cents more for some milk. And it adds up, and it's not that it's a big cost. The long run, the end game. How long can you stay that way? It shouldn't be that way. And then we look what happens over there with the war, and now countries are not exporting like they used to. Another supply chain shortage. Now we are even in a worse possible case scenario. Because we're still trying to catch up from the pandemic. And now we have a new pandemic. No exports. Where are you going to get your food from? Where are you going to get your gas from? The pipeline was canned as soon as the Biden administration got in. Are they going to retract that? And just because you have a Tesla does not mean you're going to be safe from energy crisis. America is not energy independent. That means we don't produce enough energy to provide enough energy for everyone here in America. Now, do we have that ability? Yes, we do, but we're not taking it. We have to start to think, why are we not taking it? Why are we not becoming independent? Because if we think about relationships, we want to be independent. We want to be strong and independent. We don't want to have to need anyone. When we think about how we go about our day, we're independent. We don't need anyone to take care of us. Yet, when we operate as a country, we are dependent. There's a discrepancy in that way of thinking, in that way of operating. So the stress is going to come. The anxiety is going to be there. And we need to figure out what to do. So what do? Do we go out and we panic buy and we make sure we stock up before there's no more? Do we go buy all the gas cans and make sure we have gas so we can get to work and provide for our families? Because if there's no gas, what do? There's no gas here in America. How do you think the truckers who deliver the food to the grocery stores are going to get there? It's not going to happen. And if you live on a coastal area, you might not see this as much. But for the interior states, how do you think you get your food? Fuel. Everything requires fuel. So if the fuel prices go up, the food prices go up. And regardless if you got a raise or not at your job, doesn't mean that you're going to be able to sustain that type of deal. And you might have to take out loans. You might have to go into credit card debt just to survive. But life is not about just surviving. It's about thriving. And we have to get out of that way of thinking. How do we survive? We need to start thinking, how can we strive? Whether that be how to get out of stress, get out of our financial issues, our situation. We need to figure out how to come out on top. But we also have to make sure we have all our I's dotted, our T's crossed. We have to be ready for bear. No matter what happens in the world, you should be equipped both mentally, physically, and materially. You should have food. You should have clean drinking water. But many people don't have those necessities. And what do you think is going to happen when these people don't have these necessities? Do you think everyone's just going to say, well, you snooze, you lose? Oh, well, you should have prepared. Boo-hoo. Go figure it out yourself. You should have been more prepared. No, they're going to look for people who have, and they're going to take it. So now it's not just a war with Russia and Ukraine. It's going to be a war with your neighbors, your peers within the states. It's not against the government. It's people turning their back on people. And we already started the process. We're going to segregate people. If you have a mask on, good guys. If you don't have a mask on, bad guys. If you like Trump, bad guys. If you like Biden, good guys. We have already begun the segregation. Doesn't matter. You might think, oh, we can be cordial. When people get desperate, they'll do whatever it takes. And they're not necessarily worried about your family. They're worried about theirs. Once things starts to break down, more stress comes, more anxiety comes, more regret comes, because there's going to be consequences in our choices. The good news is there's ways that we can prepare for that. And if you're interested in trying to figure out how you can prepare for something that's coming in your life is going to be unique to you. So I can't just say go out and buy a bunch of goods, because that might not be your situation. You might need a different path, a different plan. So if you're interested in finding out a plan, head over to revenconcepts.com and we can get you some coaching and help you get the mindset that you need for the impending challenges that will come our way. And this is not me being pessimistic, because if you know any bit about me, I'm extremely optimistic. Because if you come to me, the optimism is going to be, let's get you into a better place where you're going to be able to be okay, where your family's going to be okay. Not, Oh, you should have prepared earlier. You're in bad shape. Good luck. And I just throw you to the wolves. We can't do that. I can't do that. People need help. And if you're right now confused, if you're trying to ignore what's going on in the world, understand that whether you're watching or not, the world is turning. And on the next episode, we're going to be talking primarily about the war, possible nuclear fallout, and how that is going to be, because that's going to be a different type of mindset. And not many people have the drive to survive. Many people have become weak. Many people don't even know how to grow their own food. They go to the store, they order the food delivery to bring food to them. That's going to be gone. What are you going to do to stay alive? What are you going to do to sustain yourself? We need to figure that out too. Because what's happening right now with our mind and all the chaos in the world is that our mind is retreating into a box, into the idea of hope, wishing. I hope everything's going to be okay. I wish things will be okay. But that doesn't drive any action. Worrying doesn't drive action. Action drives action. So if you're worried about someone coming in, breaking down your door and stealing all your food, what would be the action to stop that? I'll leave it up to your imagination. But we need to understand that what's happening in the world, what you watch on the news on a daily basis, is going to be an anchor. It's going to keep weighing you down. And in order to live your life more into the fullest, we have to be able to lift up that anchor and toss it to the side. And that's what coaching does. And it doesn't matter about your economic situation. You should be doing everything in your power to make sure you're equipped for any situation that happens. Plan A, plan B, plan C. And hopefully you never have to go past plan A. But in life, there's so much uncertainty. And we have to understand that though life is uncertain, we do not have to be uncertain. We can be sure in our skills. We can be sure in our preparedness, whether it be materials or mindset. And we can be sure that we're going to be in a better place regardless of what happens in the world. And it's up to us to take back control of this careening vehicle we call life, instead of allowing it to operate wildly out of control. Because there's going to be things that we can control. And we have to figure those things out. And it's okay if you don't have a certain skill, but we have to be able to go acquire the skills we need, or to have someone in a group that's going to have those skills for us. There's so much more to preparedness than going to the store and buying toilet paper. Filling up plastic bags with gasoline. That's not going to help you. We have to start to look at our mind and solidify it, make it resilient, regardless of what happens. Because things are going to be weighing heavy on the mind, and we need to be strong enough to lift off that weight. I will see everyone on Friday for the special edition of Coaching in Session, where we're going to be, again, diving deep into the Ukrainian war, the Russia war, and understanding the cause and effects of that. Because even though we are already feeling the cause and effect of the war, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to create more issues and more anxiety and more stress that we have to deal with. And this is not just in the United States. This is all over the world. So make sure to share this episode and let people know that the next episode coming out is going to be key for them to get ahead and for their survival. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach, and I will see everyone on the next episode. Take care.